Good morning, grade 4. Today is Wednesday, April 15th, and today we are going to continue our unit on the Industrial Revolution. So, let's tuck in, shall we? Now, last class we talked about a lot of the factors that had to be in place in order to have this industrial boom in Great Britain. Today we're going to be focusing on one of those factors, which is child labor. This is something that could affect you. Now, if these provisions and protections weren't in place 100 years ago, a lot of you might be stuck working in factories right now. So, let's get into it. So, our learning objective for today is to explain how child labor changed in factories during the Industrial Revolution. Our success criteria is to explain what child labor is and how it played a part in the Industrial Revolution, to analyze the effects of the Factory Act of 1833, and to write a daily diary of child laborers from the standpoint of the 1880s. And we'll talk about this one more at the end of class. Now, this is a very famous photo. The girl in this photo is about 10, 11 years old. I'd say around the age you are. Her name is Sadie. And in this photo, you will have this very young girl standing, working in a factory. Now ask yourself, what are the things that you think you can see? The things that you can hear? What about the smells? Does it look like a very happy place to be? Does it look clean? Does it look quiet? Imagine you are the person taking this photograph. What can you see, hear, and feel just from looking at this picture? Now, to be honest, you are going to see pictures like this all over the country in lots of different factories. But why this photo was most popular will be explained in the video. So make sure after this lesson to go in and watch your video. Now, let's take a quick break, and I want you to close your eyes and think about what your daily routine would be. What time do you wake up? What time do you eat breakfast and lunch? Maybe you take a nap. Maybe you get done with your homework at a certain time and you get to play Minecraft or watch a movie. Try and think of your daily schedule. Now, let's compare your daily schedule with a typical schedule of somebody working in a factory. They called them child apprentices. You had child apprentices, and then you have the overlookers, superiors, who would watch to make sure they were doing what they were supposed to do. A very typical day would start at 4 in the morning. I don't know what time you wake up, but I don't wake up at 4 in the morning. Then you have to start work at 5 in the morning. And you better not be late or they would take money from you. 6 a.m., you are working right away, lifting and carrying heavy buckets. 8 o'clock, you get your first half-hour break. You got to eat quickly to get back to work. If you are slow, they would hit you and beat you until you worked faster or got the job done. You'd have a little half-hour lunch and then back to factory work, where you might see a lot of accidents happen, especially in the afternoon. Most of the day is gone, and that's when people start getting careless, maybe not paying attention, and then they lose a finger in the factory. Wow, 7 o'clock. It's worked 16 hours and not gotten paid. But 10 o'clock at night, you finally get to go home to your workhouse, which is another place altogether, which we will talk about later. But that's when you can finally rest your head. 10 o'clock at night. So from 4 o'clock in the morning until 10 o'clock at night. And about 6 hours of sleep before you have to get up and do it all over again. So I know what you're thinking, Mr. Mo, how could people just send their kids to the factory? Just let them work all day. How could parents do that to their kids? Well, now we're going to take a deep dive into 2 case studies to see what the mindset of people during that time was. So let's read one account. Source A. My boy Edwin was well known for being lively and straight before he went to the mills. But after 3 years, he was weak in the knees, and it was so bad that he could hardly walk. Many people told me to take him away, but I was a poor man with a large family and needed his wages. And that's from a father. Now, let's look at source B. I saw her shoulders and asked what the matter was. She said the overlooker had strapped me, but do not complain, for we will be sacked. The overlooker had strapped her because she hadn't done as she was told immediately. Her back was beat nearly to a jelly. Now, this is from an account of somebody who worked 18 hours in the factory. Sounds like really back-breaking work. I wouldn't want to do any of this. Right, so what could be done? There comes the Factory Act of 1833. These were rules that factories must follow in order to protect the children. We're going to go through some of these, and I'm going to talk about why or how these laws were very hard to enforce. Okay? So, no children, workers under the age of 9 years old. If you are 8, you can't work. 9 years old is when you can start working. Employers must have age certificates for all the children, saying how old these children were. They had to prove it. Children from 9 to 13 years old would work no more than 9 hours a day. Children 13 to 18 years old wouldn't have to work more than 12 hours a day. Children cannot work at night. And 2 hours of school for the children every day. Now, the big part of this is 4 factory inspectors appointed to enforce those laws. Now, that last rule was the kicker. For the whole country, you only had 4 people that would go around to inspect these factories and to inspect that kids are getting the schooling and that the kids are only working so many hours. So they might only show up once a month, once every 3 months. How are they supposed to enforce the rules for every factory when one of these inspectors had to see hundreds of different factories? They would ask the child workers, are they following the rules? If the worker didn't lie, they would be fired or they would get their wages taken away. So they put these laws in place to help them, but there was no way to enforce those laws. Right, now on to everybody's favorite part, your homework. You're going to be doing a diary entry. There is a 1-star and 3-star in the folder. Now your daily diary has to do with you as a child worker in a factory. Your diary should have these 5 parts. 1, state where you are working. 2, state the number of hours you work every day. 3, describe how they treat you. 4, explain why you have to go to work. And 5, explain how things have changed with the new act. And also I will put maybe didn't help because they thought they were going to do something like go to school, but nobody checks. So then you don't get enough school hours. Make sure you get it done and then put it back into the folder so we can check it. All right, so our learning objective today was to be able to explain how child labor changed in factories during the Industrial Revolution. Our success criteria was to explain what child labor is and how it played part in the Industrial Revolution. Also to analyze the effects of the Factory Act of 1833 and your daily diary based on Child Labor Act of 1880s. Should be done and put in the folder. Don't forget, guys, there is also a video in the folder discussing child labor and being a child in the factory. Give it a watch to help you with your daily diary. Until next time, guys, take it easy. Bye-bye.